To introduce Jim McCluskey, who's the General Manager, Planning, Technical and Environment for BHP Copper South Australia. And he's going to talk to us about the intersection of the geoscientist with business. Welcome.
Thanks, Peter. Today, no slides, just perspective and challenge. I'd like to acknowledge the Kaurna people, who are the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today, pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and also extend the same respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are here with us today. In this type of forum, we often hear that geoscience data and information is the basis of value in our resources sector. But how many of us are actually able to clearly articulate how geoscience translates into the strategic plan and into investment decision making? While we often convey success through the reporting of intersections of the target mineral, it's the intersection of the geoscientists themselves with the business that links the geoscience to value. And my point to you today is that the geoscience value is not intrinsic of itself. It is not valuable on its own unless it is linked contextually to value. The geoscientist that walks towards the business, towards the customer in the business, is materially more valuable in all regards. Indeed, in the absence of doing this, the inference or apparent value being conceived has little basis beyond wishing and hoping. A typical example of this can be heard in such phrases as contained metal or in situ value, but using these terms shows somewhat of a lack of understanding of value, and especially how this is reflected in decision making. In this fashion, one can confidently and correctly assert that the largest gold deposit in the world is seawater. But this does not translate to a business decision, nor does it gather any investment interest. For geoscience work to be valuable, it needs to be an investment. It needs to be attractive as an investment, which means it needs to describe a connection to value and a return. If you catch yourself thinking or even saying the rest of the business just doesn't understand what we do, they don't understand the value of the work that we do, my prediction for you is that the opposite is much more likely to be true. So what do I mean by the intersection of the geoscientist with business? How do we generate these intersections? It comes from two things. First is the knowledge of the geoscientist on how the information gets used, and secondly, framing the geoscience work within a decision framework. So let's talk about the knowledge of the geoscientist. You'll have great knowledge of mineralisation models, of structure, of mineralogy, of alteration, but this is not enough to intersect with business. If you link these to an understanding of downstream processing, of how information gets used, optimisation of tonnes and grade, modifying factors that influence value, valuation models, product premiums and value in use, these will intersect with business. I spent a number of years working in our acquisition arm of the business across iron ore, coal, diamonds, potash, nickel and copper, and I thought I was doing a great job. I was providing data, I was providing information, models. I was doing a pretty good job describing the best estimate that I could make of what was in the ground. But I was curious about how the information was being used, and so I asked about it. I asked a few questions, and to my absolute horror, I discovered some really scary assumptions being made of the information that I was providing. Really scary assumptions around variability, none. Really scary assumptions about recoveries, static. Incredible grade tonnage relationships were getting used that were mathematical only, and it's no wonder that the geologist gets blamed because it intersects even if you are unaware. So the intersection of your work is through modifying factors such as rock mass quality, hydrology, the acid-producing character of the rock, of the waste and of the mineralisation. When you drill the deposit, you almost always drill through the country rock also. And that information is just as valuable, if not more valuable, to the engineer. Indeed, if you go to our coal operations in Queensland, where strip ratios are 10 to 1 or more, Mostly that is a waste mining exercise, and yet geology will spend a lot of time describing the coal. To be able to talk to the intersection of the geoscientist with business requires you to acquire another set of skills. But this will make your work more valuable, more focused, more efficient, and you yourself more valuable to the business that you work in. You have long careers. Invest in yourself, diversify your knowledge, get across and work on capital projects, work in evaluation team, work in the marketing arm of the business. All of these are hugely dependent on the information that you are providing. Yet my observation would be that the majority of geoscientists have very little knowledge of these other domains. So with this knowledge, then what do? We apply a value of information lens. What is the value of information? What is the most valuable information? Do you just intuitively know what information is the most valuable? And the answer to that is no, you do not. Do you understand decision trees and how decision analysis is used in investment decision making? No? Well, here is the thing. You are climbing up that decision tree every day in your work, you just don't know it. Are you collecting information? Are you interpreting? Are you modelling? Are you choosing how you spend your time? All of these are actually value-based decisions, and your time of those is the most important investment that you are making. The value of what you do, the value of geoscience, is not fixed. It is scenario dependent. It has a probabilistic distribution, and it is shaped by modifying factors. It does not have intrinsic value on its own. The geoscientist that understands how uncertainty is quantified, managed, and used in decisions can influence the amount of investment. It can influence the timing of that investment relative to others, can influence capital allocation and even portfolio strategy overall. A tangible example of this is here in Copper South Australia within BHP. My colleagues from Copper South Australia are presenting today on a couple of different things and various examples of the tangible result of intersecting with the business. Over the past 5 years, the team members that are here and those in the rest of the business have had up to 24 surface rigs drilling across Olympic Dam and across Oak Dam, have completed possibly the largest land-based 3D seismic survey over Olympic Dam, our largest deposit, have drilled over 1 million metres in the ground over the past 5 to 6 years, reported a new 1.3 billion tonne inferred resource at Oak Dam, and materially uplifted future potential at Olympic Dam as well. That team has materially progressed our geometallurgical knowledge for all stages of discovery, through mining and extraction, through to marketing and including enclosure planning as well. This has informed the growth planning of the business and has spurred the introduction of block caving into the business across multiples of our deposits. I can tell you that the country rock nature, the nature of the country rock matters very much indeed in the block cave domain. And so the question that you should then ask yourself is, what is the value of this intersection? And that question actually should have come after a different question. The earlier question is, what was the value of the drill hole in the first place? Let's use the example then again of Oak Dam here in South Australia. The rapid assessment of that deposit and the value to the business was made before the drilling information was obtained. And this allowed us to put a case forward to rapidly ramp up the drilling intensity, to understand that value case, and to understand how valuable that information was going to be to the business. And as a result, we were able to successfully report over 1 billion tonnes of inferred resource. At the same time, in that reporting, we also reported a bit over 200 million tonnes at a bit over 2% copper as well. And behind that reporting was an understanding of mining strategy options, of not being fixated on a single option, and of the mining methods themselves and what underpins them. And the value of information framework and methodology is the differentiator here in putting forward the business case and gaining the business's support to go after that information. Now, you may well say, yes, it's really easy to talk about value when such success occurs. But my point to you is that it is even more important when not having success. in discovery or in delineation to be applying this type of a framework and making your case for investment. It is even more important to know what information is valuable before you go get that. With insufficient time here, I won't go through the model, but the type model for going through that type of thing is to have first a hypothesis, second, to define the range of outcomes that would be possible, third, to determine if any part of that range has a positive NPV, and only fourth, to go and get that information to assess the range. And then, of course, the fifth phase is to decide if you still have a segment of that distribution above your value threshold and whether you should continue or stop. So what does that mean for you? It means that technical excellence in geoscience is only truly valuable to the business when it is paired with an understanding of business context. It means our value to others lies much less in the data that we generate, but in how we help the business to make decisions. It has to intersect with the business. And it means that the geoscientist that understands valuation, risk, strategy, and decision making is not just a contributor to downstream processes. They are the catalyst. And that catalyst is for investment decisions in geoscience to generate better value and in realising that future that brings people and resources together to build a better world. So I challenge you as geoscientists to become that catalyst, to influence the future, to look beyond what you value in your work and embrace the multiplier of this value through the intersection of your work with business. So be that geoscientist that intersects with the business. Build that capability and own your role in shaping the future. Thank you.